Okay. Welcome to a colonial geographical cultural history of Francisco Dean Carlos Rebelo. This is my history across 3 continents: Asia, Africa, Europe, 7 countries: India, Portugal, Kenya, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, where my grandma was born, and the United Kingdom, and 4 languages: Konkani, where they speak in Goa, Swahili, which is spoken in East Africa, and English and Portuguese. So let me start from the beginning. Goa, India, where my beautiful brown skin is from and where I was born. I've taken this colonial map because it's really cool, and Goa is here in the left-hand side of India on the west coast. It's India's smallest state, and it is famous for its beach vibes, Portuguese architecture, exotic fruit, beer, and like parties. But one thing that makes Goa unique is it was ruled by the Portuguese for over 400 years, which has a great impact on my life because it's the reason why my name is Francisco Rebelo, and it's like why our religion is like Christian, and we eat kind of all different things compared to the normal Indians. And this building right here is the cathedral in Old Goa, and it holds the patron saint of Goa, San Francisco Xavier, which is my name. Francisco Rebelo, have the most Goan Portuguese name ever. And it wasn't just a cool name, it's actually my grandfather's name. His name is Caetano Francisco Rebelo. Here he is, he's a very accomplished man. He's an entrepreneur and like a fashion designer, tailor. And he traveled from Goa to Nairobi, Kenya, which I'll go into later, and back to Goa, where so this is his like suitcases traveling on the ships from Africa back to India, where he built his family home in Benaulim village in Goa. And this is where it is right now. And to give you an idea of Goa, because Goa has many vibes and tourists, different experiences, but this is my Goa of Benaulim village, the bird noises, the fruits, the colors. My dad wearing the Portugal football shirt, and you'll also get to hear some of the Konkani language spoken by my dad and my auntie. Another cool video I have is of this, which is the village ladies and men collecting coconuts from the trees. And it's a bit of a dying art right now. You can see the man, he's got no harness or like safety gear, he's just going up with his feet and hands and a giant knife and knocking down the coconuts. And yeah, like my house is pretty old school, it hasn't been updated since my grandparents were alive. But in another way, especially with my dad around to keep the traditions, this is a sort of site that you wouldn't get to see in a hotel or in many like modern houses. So it's pretty cool and unique. And this is like a snapshot of me and my dad in Goa. And as you can see in the bottom, there's me in our Goa house, like me as a baby with my dad. On the right is like me when I was 21 with my aunties and cousins and neighbors. And then in the middle is the last picture, like me and my dad in Goa. And when we go to Goa, he goes every year and I go like sometimes. And we live our best life. We live the like old school way with the old showers and cooking on a like stovetop. But we just enjoy life, like waking up when we want, eating rice and fish and drinking lots of beer. So the next chapter is East Africa. As you can see on my little colonial map, Goa is here on the top right on the left-hand side of India, and they sailed on ships into East Africa. And on this current new map, you can see the states, the countries. And my mum was born in Tanzania, and my dad was born in Nairobi. And you might think this is like strange. Why are Indians in Africa? And there was a whole culture of Indians immigrating to Africa, and furthermore, like Goans moving to Africa. And starting off, this book documented that culture from 1865 till 1980. And my dad described it as his parents' generation would have moved for a better life. As you can see in the top left-hand corner, how they dressed, like in a very like colonial upper class way. And you can see on the bottom right is the established Goan Institute in Nairobi, Kenya in 1909. So my mom, she was born in Tanzania in a town called Moshi on the foothills of Mount Kilimanjaro. And this is my mom and her brother and sister. My mom's name is Pauline. She's the youngest. And this is my dad, the handsome man. His name is Leo, and he's a musician. And this is his life in Nairobi. My dad's happened to take way more pictures than my mom. And this is his family, his father and mom and brothers and sisters in the middle. And this is his like friends and lifestyle that he was living at the time as a kid. And he has like fond memories of this time of like community, and describes a feeling of not needing to want anything expensive, but just being happy with what you have. And this is my dad and my brother back in Nairobi in the 90s outside his father's tailor shop. And this is me, my dad and my brother in the 90s in the Ngorongoro crater in Tanzania on a safari. And I've been to Tanzania many times, as much times as Goa, because I have cousins there. My mum's sister, Auntie Olinda, she lives there, and all my cousins have grown up there and have started their lives. And it's kind of almost like a second home to me. I can go and really have a good time and enjoy my time there. And I think the biggest impact of East Africa on my life is Hakuna Matata. So Disney made it famous in The Lion King with its song, but Hakuna Matata in Kenya, Tanzania is truly a way of life. Like, it's very easygoing. You'll probably be late waiting for any bus to go anywhere, but it's just open-minded. You don't expect much, and you're happy with kind of what you have. And you'll see some people with the most like poorest people, but with the biggest smiles. And growing there as a kid, and as I've grown, it's a very like humbling experience that has affected how I look at the world. And not yet, the penultimate place is London. So we go from here at the bottom, East Africa, up to London, the home of the British Empire. So basically what happened in the 60s, the British gave the African and many different colonies, India as well, back to their natives. So in that process, the people that came through the colonies, the white English and the Indians, were kind of like not officially kicked out, but like the nationalists came and they kind of moved on. So my dad in his 20s moved to London when he was still like fully living the rock and roll lifestyle with this is him and my uncles, and yeah, like in their 20s, coming from East Africa, listening to like rock and roll music, but still within their Goan community, living life. And my dad, he wanted to marry a Goan girl, so he met my mum. And my mum, even though she grew up in East Africa, she didn't go to London, she went to Goa. So she wanted to come to London and marry a London man, and they both got married. As you can see, my dad in a white suit and my mum looking like Princess Diana. And I was then born in Goa in 1988. And I think my dad wanted me to grow up more Goa than London, and tried his best, like giving me baths in the village with goats. And my mum, I came on my mum's knee. My dad was already in London. Me and my mum came to London when I was a baby, and I have a special bond with my mum for that reason. We came and it was difficult for her to adjust to London life, to married life, to working for a boss in an office and childminders and everything. So I have a much respect for her. So this is me growing up in London. Australians think I grew up in this like Prince Charles lifestyle, but really, as you've seen, London is the home of like this empire that they went to. So the place in London I grew up is Wembley, and I grew up with friends from all over the world, from like the Philippines to Africa and the Caribbean, and also like loads of Irish friends from my school. And this is my family lifestyle. You can see my mum, my dad, my brother. Basically, a lot of good food, music, and colorful shirts. And if you were to come to my house or be entertained, you'd have my dad who sings music in Swahili, Konkani, and English. And we always have parties of like dancing and stuff. And it's one of my favorite videos of him singing. And so my dad is on the music, and my mom loves to cook amazing Goan dishes. Like, no, these dishes aren't in any Indian restaurant, even in a Goan restaurant. These are like really homely, passed through like generations, and my mom is really specific with her cooking. And as you can see, like how she makes samosas, how she makes pilau rice and different curries. We love having people over for dinner, and yeah, it's a kind of homely house like that. And this is kind of me in my later part of London, moving to East London on my own and absorbing more of the designer life, and yeah, just coming into my own. And I think when I was younger, I toned down my heritage to fit in more with English people. And as I've gotten older and more independent, I've realized that my Goan and all my different cultures make me unique, and I amplify that. And so finally, following in the footsteps of my parents and grandparents and ancestors before me, I traveled across the world from England to Australia, thankfully by plane, not ship. And yeah, I am in the process of having my own journey and new experiences and making new friends, and even going through that difficult first few months and even year that my mum would have done when she left Goa to come to London. So I'm making new experiences for myself and for my future children and grandchildren to tell stories of. And coming to Australia just made me realize how English I am. Or being in London, I'm like not English, I'm like Indian. And coming to Australia, it's like, oh, I realize I love cups of tea more than anyone. And I have an English accent and I don't pronounce T's. Like when I say it doesn't matter, I say matter without the T. But now I try to say the T more. But people in Australia, sometimes I think they think I'm Harry Potter or something like that. And also I realized I miss, this is like not England, this is like London stuff. A good, cheap, dirty fried chicken.
I was expecting the best because bear in mind, fam,
this guy is a chicken connoisseur.
In total, £6.40.
Famous.
The wings were fairly fresh. You know, they fell off the bone quite well. Like they were well cooked, quite succulent. Going into actual flavor, weak.
But yeah, that's me. Where did we start? On the right hand side, India, we went to Africa, we went to London, and now we're in Australia. And I always rep my Goa roots and my culture. And I guess the story is to be continued, like what happens, how I get on, and what my future children and stuff will be telling in their story. Thank you.